Hey there. Before we get into today's episode, I've got something exciting to share with you. On Thursday, January the 9th, I'm hosting a free interactive co-working session to help you kick off Q1 with clarity and confidence. In 1 hour, we'll work together to pick the right goal for the season of your life, identify the resources you already have to make progress, and build a plan that actually works. No more spinning your wheels. This is the same process that helped me leave my part-time job and grow my business, and I can't wait to share it with you. So don't wait. Head to the show notes now and click the link to grab your seat. Let's make 2025 the year you finally take action on the goals that matter most to you. I'll see you there. Thanks for tuning in to episode 8 of the More Than Capable Mompreneur podcast. Today's episode is the interview I did on the Laura Shipman show, and I'm going to put a link to her podcast in the show notes. If you aren't already subscribed, you need to do so after you listen to this episode, of course, because Laura shares bite-sized tips that make social media manageable because it can be quite overwhelming. But now today's topic is very close to my heart because I actually started my business as a virtual assistant 8 years ago. Can you believe it? I know I can't. But it has grown and transformed into what it is today. And you can hear more about my mompreneur journey in episode 1 of the podcast. Now, hiring a virtual assistant is a very strategic move, and the actual amount of work that's involved in hiring the right one at the right time tends to come as a bit of a surprise to most business owners because there's so much misleading information online. So it's my personal mission to help you avoid the frustrations and failures that I've lived through when it comes to hiring a virtual assistant so that you can do it successfully. That's why I'm debunking 3 of the myths in this episode. Now, this is actually the first of a 3-part series to help you successfully partner with a virtual assistant to save you time so you can grow your business without being overwhelmed. So let's get on with the show. Hey there, mama. Are you burned out from working, running a business, and raising a family? I know it's hard and there's no manual to help you get it all done without the mom guilt. I've been where you are, and I want us to navigate this journey together. I'm Shannon Baker, your coffee-loving host, and I'd like to welcome you to the More Than Capable Mompreneur podcast. We're part of a new wave of working women that focus on fulfilling our purpose and raising our families before profit. It's time we stop letting fear hold us back and accept that we are enough and we do enough. This podcast will feature interviews, trainings, practical lifestyle tips and strategies you can implement in the mom cracks of time so you can take care of the necessary things and grow your business without burning out. So grab your cup of coffee, your favorite sparkling water, or pour a glass of your favorite wine, and let's get on with the show because we are more than capable mompreneurs.
Shannon, welcome to the show. I'm so glad to have you.
Thank you for having me, Laura. I've been excited to be on your show. So the time is here.
Yay. I'm so excited. So why don't you tell everybody who you are and what you do, the name of your business, all the good stuff.
Okay. So the business is Socially Savvy VA, and the VA does not stand for virtual assistant. It stands for vertical alignment. Because your business operations need to align with your mission and your vision for it to really fulfill that dream that you started your business for. So it's interesting because I have shifted from being a virtual assistant to focusing on business operations. And I'm sure as we talk more, we get into why I made that shift. And it was because I saw a need in the industry, which relates to the myths that we're going to talk about today.
Cool. How long have you been doing this for?
It was 7 years, actually, this April.
Okay, cool. And before we get into the nitty gritty, you'll work like anywhere, right? Like across the globe, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So everything that we're going to talk about here today is all things that you do virtually. Hence the name. It's vertical alignment now, but you can work virtually. Okay, cool. So tell us what led you to become in this, like, tell us how you got here to where you are today.
So I originally started my business as a virtual assistant. I've been an office manager, executive support for small businesses that was what I did for, most of my adult life as real jobs. And I wanted to be home as my daughter started going to school. So a friend recommended I look into becoming a virtual assistant. And, a couple of months later, after doing the research, I launched my business as a virtual assistant. But I found I kept getting frustrated working with people because they had the expectation for me to complete tasks, but there was never a process to let me know how to do it. And pinning them down to get the information, it didn't happen. So I was frustrated because I couldn't do what I was getting paid to do. They were frustrated because I wasn't doing what they were paying me to do. And I just felt like I was hitting my head against a brick wall. So then finally the light bulb went off. I'll just document the process for you. And once I started doing that, which is really what I love doing anyway, because I'm a logical thinker. So mapping things out from point A to point Z to get the desired result is how I live my life. Everything in my life is organized that way. It's like, how do we get to where we want to go? That's how I think. So it just worked in well with becoming, being a virtual assistant. But then I also, talking to other virtual assistants or business owners, realized this was a common frustration. But in our word as business owners, the first thing they tell you is if you want to grow your business, you need to hire a virtual assistant. But getting your business ready to hire a virtual assistant is all a process in itself that no one ever talks about. So that's one of the big myths right there, that you have to have a virtual assistant.
That in order, and like you say something pretty bold, that you don't have to have a virtual assistant, but we were just talking before we started the show that you believe that people can run a 6-figure business on their own, like totally being a solopreneur. Is that right?
Yeah, you can. If you align your operations, granted, there are some things that you have to outsource because it's not your expertise. But the general role of hiring a virtual assistant is someone that's always there to handle specific tasks for you. No, you don't. That's not a model that everyone wants. And I'm one of those people. I specifically don't want my business model is not structured in a way that I'm going to have to hire regular work on a, consistent basis, which really is the goal of hiring a virtual assistant, is consistent work. Project basis, absolutely. I'm totally 100% for that. But even before you do that, you have to have a process to hand off to the person because it sets the expectation of what you want them to do.
Okay, so that's interesting. Okay, so where do you I look at myself in this space and I'm thinking to myself, well, do I need a virtual assistant? I don't even know where to start. Let's say when it comes to processes, where do you start with people and how do you know that they need those processes? Like which ones do you pick? What do you tackle? Like all of those things. I'm kind of confused by where would I start?
Okay. The first question I always ask everyone is, how do you get appointments on your calendar?
Okay. So for me, I just fell in love with Calendly because I realized what I love about this. Okay, I see we're going down this path in Shannon's mind here. I think I'm tuning into it because what happened was what I would do is I would communicate back and forth with people on email to set up, say, a podcast interview like this. And then I'd finally get that nailed down, that date, that time, the right time zone, because I've had people in other time zones and misscheduled it. Mm-hmm. And then what I would do is I'd forget to set up the link through Zoom. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, why didn't I do that? It was just like, I forgot it. And so when I found my new love, Calendly, it actually integrates with Zoom and it does it for me, automatically.
There you go. That's the beginning of your customer care process, is one that every business owner needs, whether it's for networking, your podcast, and you have podcast guests, coffee chats, any meetings. Mm-hmm. Why are we still playing email tag or phone tag to get appointments on the calendar where you can simply send that link? They pick a time that works for both of you because it's connected to your calendar. And for certain things, as you mentioned, Calendly, and I use Acuity, which also integrates with Zoom. Okay. All of my confirmations, reminders, everything, it's automated. I don't have to do anything but send one link and everything else is taken care of.
It's amazing. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's absolutely, it's such a simple thing, but it's kind of a game changer for me. Like it was like I had this moment of clarity when I finally figured that out. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So calendar stuff is appointments and everything are really important. So what you'll do is that's where you start with people, is figuring out that. And so then do you set up that process for them, or do you train them on how to do that? How does that work?
There are two options. There's a done for you option where on the back end, yes, I take care of it, but most people are opting for the done with you.
Oh, okay.
Because that way, once it's set up, they know how to use it on their own, which is that solopreneur who wants these administrative tasks automated as much as possible, but they also want to know how to use their technology for the event that they need to make some changes. Because with Calendly, Acuity, Visita, no matter what calendar app you're using, they all give you the options to do a whole lot of things and make life easier when it comes to appointments, getting information, and even going into your onboarding process, because you can also use them to do follow-up emails after your meetings, and it's all automated.
You can. Yes. I need to look into that a little bit more. Okay. The other thing that I thought was really interesting with Calendly anyway, is like you can create different types of regular appointments that you have. So for example, I have a podcast one, maybe I have like a discovery call one that's free, but then what if I had like a paid consultation? I was able to integrate PayPal into that and actually take payments before we even had that meeting.
Exactly.
Which is amazing.
So It's two things in one. You've gotten paid and you've got the appointment all in advance. So you don't have to send an invoice, which is a whole nother process, and wait for them to get paid before you schedule the appointment. So you've literally cut probably at least 30 minutes out of that process right there, because it's automatic. You got the appointment and the payment at one time. So the money's in the bank and the person's on your calendar. You're done.
That's it is amazing. I love that. It is like my new favorite thing. So tell me, okay, so you tackle their calendar first. What's the next thing that you'll take a look at in their business?
So really there's 6 main systems, but calendar and that customer care process is always the first one, because really our introduction or the introduction to our business starts with that first point of contact, whether it's that discovery call that we should all use to kind of siphon out whether or not a person is actually a good fit for our services. And then it goes on from there, as you mentioned, because you have intake form questions that you can use and collect information up front, and gives you a view into the person, but it also lets them know that your business is organized to run as a business and not as a hobby. So things are not helter-skelter, like all over the place. Because if the process starts off that way, working with someone, more than likely it's going to give them the impression that that's the way you run your business. And I know for me, that would be an automatic turnoff working with the person.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me about the customer care part. How do you automate that?
That's the first step. And then there are several options, and it really varies based on the person's services, because it leads into your onboarding process. But that can also be automated with apps like Zapier.
Okay, explain that, because I've never used that. And I hear people talking about zaps all the time. And to me, I don't know if I want to be zapped, but maybe I do. I don't know.
So a really great one that you can integrate even with your calendar is when someone makes this appointment, the Zap automatically can add them to like your MailChimp account, like your email list, something like that. There are different steps that you can set up because Zapier integrates with so many different apps that it really automates things for you. So, and you can also set up templates to go with that. So even if it's someone books a paid service with you, if there's a separate form that you want them to fill out, you can create a Zap that automatically sends the form when someone books that type of appointment. You don't have to do anything. It happens automatically.
That's amazing. Okay. So now with Zapier, is there like a free version versus a paid version?
There is a free version. And I use a free version. I have multiple Zaps set up in there.
So tell me, like, because I'm trying to think how I would use Zapier for my business. Like what different ways do you use it personally for you?
I use it. That's one. When someone creates an appointment in my Acuity account, it pulls the information into a spreadsheet that I have set up. So it gathers all the information from the intake form questions and automatically fills in a spreadsheet that I use as reference when I have that discovery call with them. So I know their name, their business name, their website, their phone number, all the questions that I've asked, they're all put into cells in the spreadsheet. I don't have to do anything but open it up and prepare for the call.
That's amazing. That is amazing. And then you talked about like onboarding. And so what are you using for onboarding with somebody?
Right now, it's a combination of things, but I hate to admit that I'm manually doing the work, but it's because I'm in the process of setting up Debunking, Debunking is a multi-function app that you can use for appointment setting, your invoicing, emailing, like a lot of things rolled into one. So when I get this set up, which my goal is over the next month to really carve out time and get this set up, that when a customer says, okay, they book for instance, the accountability partnership, I can go in and select that service, and I've set up all my templates that they need to use in the process, paperwork that I need before, including, the agreement that they need to sign. All of that is already set up as a workflow, and push the trigger, select the option, and the workflow initiates. I don't have to do anything else. Also collects my money, and I can create a customer portal, which keeps all of that information in one place for the client's reference, so they don't have to keep searching through their email for the documents or anything from me. It keeps it all right there in the client portal.
Wow. Okay. So if you transition over to Debunking, are you going to get rid of your Acuity scheduler? Like, would you need the Acuity still?
Personally, I still plan to use Acuity because I've set up so much in Acuity that it just wouldn't be an efficient use of my time to switch it all. Plus, there's some features in Acuity that Debunking has not quite caught up with yet.
Okay.
So it does have the scheduler option available. It's just not as robust as Acuity is for me right now.
Okay. And can you spell that for us so people know how to get there?
Debunking is DUBSADO.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, cool. So what other, okay, so you said there were six systems, right? And we went through kind of three of them. Do you have any?
There's your financial system, which includes, looking at your cash flow on a regular basis.
And what do you recommend for that? Like,
you can use any accounting software. The bottom line is to have a system that collects your expenses, your income, and keeps it all in a place where you can look at your numbers. Because if you're not reviewing your numbers, you're going to go bankrupt.
You got to know your numbers.
You got to know your numbers. But we talk about expense management, how you, streamlining the process of how you pay for your expenses, using one account to collect all those receipts that we have.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, I have one email address where all of those receipts for everything I'm auto-billed goes to one place, and it's not my inbox. So even if I hire a virtual assistant to just log and reconcile my expenses each quarter, all the emails are in one place that they can use as a point of reference.
That is brilliant. Oh my gosh. Okay. You're like blowing my mind right now. Whoever would have thought that. That is incredible. Oh my gosh. Okay. So you had financial, and then what are the other two systems that we need?
This is a huge one.
Okay.
Your files, your documents.
Oh, you talk about this a lot.
I do. And it's because I've gone through the process of one of the services I used to offer as a virtual assistant was the renewals for certifications. But they could never find the documents that I needed. You have to have your files centrally located, and that's not on your desk and not on your hard drive. They need to be organized virtually. So one, you can find them. And so two, someone else can find them if you hire some help. That also includes passwords for Password Keeper. I can't log in and help you do anything if neither one of us can get into the system.
That is frustrating because I've worked with people who don't know their passwords. And I'm like, how can you not have that somewhere? But it happens.
That's part of that document system. There's also backups. Identifying backup people is one. What happens if there's an emergency in your business? Do you have an emergency process in place that notifies your clients, a point of contact, whatever the case may be? You also need to have a process in place to back up your data on your computer. I myself have been a victim of crashed hard drive, and thank goodness everything was in the cloud, so I did not lose much. But had that not been the case, I would have lost everything. That's all my templates, contracts, all of that. And templates is also part of that system because there are things we do on a regular basis. We say the same thing. Message may change a little bit, but we need to have templates. Like, how do you respond when someone sends an email, say, hey, I met you at blah, 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 and I'd love to, continue the conversation. Or if you want to continue the conversation with someone else, that's a quick email template that should include a link to your calendar and say, schedule the time that we can talk to you.
Well, yes, for sure. That's amazing. I love the idea of template emails because I can't tell you how many times I rewrite the same stuff over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
That would save a ton of time. Okay. And then what's our last system that you...
The last one is your marketing.
Oh.
What platforms are you who are you talking to? Blogging, what's your blog process? Do you allow guest blogs? There should be a process and the guidelines and requirements for that. Your newsletter, it should identify your branding, how you format, if there's specific link colors, all of that needs to be outlined. Because the thing is, whether you're working as a solopreneur and you continue to work that way, you delegate to a graphic designer, a virtual assistant, a website designer, they all need some type of specific information to be able to complete a task for your business, period.
Yep. I mean, that I actually just thinking, like, I outsourced my web stuff to a web designer and he's really good. And if I was able to just, send him a link, I'm assuming that's what this process does, is it just sends a link to that person and they have access to whatever is in that file for your, brand colors or whatever it is that they're looking to access. That's amazing. Exactly.
And it's all right there in, one central location. If you have your document system in place, you can easily find it. Because as you mentioned, or even if you hire a graphic designer, they're going to ask you, where's your transparent logo? They want a specific type of file that should be stored in a specific place that you can easily find. You bring on a new client, even if you're working with a virtual assistant, or if you're not, and it's you doing the work, you should be able to find your template. One, you should have a template for your contract for everyone. And then you can easily fill that in and get it to the person within 24 hours. So these are things where you can hire a virtual assistant, but you don't have to, because let's be honest, if you're bootstrapping because you just started your business, or you're at a point where you're not bringing in that type of income, you still have to do the work.
Yeah. Yep. So, okay. So a couple of things. I guess my first question is going to be, when you're working with people to help them set up their systems, are you working with like new businesses or established businesses or both?
Both.
Both. Okay. So you can take a business at any point in the process and help them get organized and get their stuff set up so it's all automated. And so that you have all the, okay. So you'll set up those systems. And if you think about it, that makes them so much more efficient, not only with their time, but also with like their expenses, so that you don't have to hire a virtual assistant to manage all of that stuff that's not organized in the first place.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
And there's a myth. You have to hire a virtual assistant to take care of these things. No, you don't. Yeah. And really, you have to be at least halfway organized before you can even integrate a virtual assistant into your business. And I refer to that hiring as a process because most people start to delegate to a virtual assistant by task. But I am a big proponent of you have to create a role before you hire a virtual assistant, because the role then identifies multiple tasks that you can hand off to that person, not just one. So that's also a more efficient process that works for your business.
That's really cool. It's so important. That's so important. So what other myths do you have about virtual assistants or solopreneurs or the whole entrepreneur life here?
This is a big myth that once you hire a virtual assistant and you've delegated tasks to them, you're no longer responsible for them.
Oh,
that's not delegating. That's abdicating.
Yes. It's a big difference.
There's a huge difference.
Yeah.
And that one there is really huge. And it really shows our leadership qualities. Because a true leader can delegate the task and allow someone else to complete it, but you still communicate with them to ensure that there are no issues and the task, and to check in and make sure the task is getting done.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that one. That's a good one. Yeah. Oh, God. Okay. So what's the next one you've got?
The other one is that your virtual assistant can just guide the business for you.
Oh, no.
No, they cannot.
So you actually have people who will hire a virtual assistant and they'll expect the virtual assistant to be the visionary for the business. Is that what you're saying there?
Believe it or not, yes.
Oh my gosh.
I have fired clients and my husband stays on me. He's like, stop firing people. But it was a problem. I can't be more in a virtual assistant. Stop saying I'm, because it's not me anymore. But a virtual assistant cannot be more invested in your business than you are.
Yeah.
Their job is to support you as the right hand to help you make your vision come true. It's not their vision, it's yours. So you, again, cannot abdicate that responsibility, or you can't give that to them. That's not theirs.
No, not at all. Not at all. So you had three myths for us today, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So one was that you have to hire a virtual assistant to grow.
And you don't. You just showed us we don't.
Yes. 2 was hiring means you're no longer responsible for it. No, that's a myth. You can't abdicate. You have to delegate. And 3, that they can make your vision. They can create the vision for your business. No, they cannot. It's your vision. They just support you to help make it come to life.
That's really good. So I was reading some stuff that you had sent over to me. Can you tell us what you consider the incubation period? Like what happens in an incubation situation?
Okay. So we all have this great idea that we, start our business with our skills, our natural abilities, and then we create this business with a vision of how it's going to support our lives. That's all great. So when you're incubating your business, it's because you don't have a proven product yet. You're testing it. It's not growing. It's still in that infancy stage. So you have to nurse it. But part of that nursing it for it to grow is you have to give it attention, which is where those processes come in. If you don't get those processes in place, it doesn't stabilize the foundation of your business for you to then be able to shift your attention to growing your business. So the processes are the foundation of anything that we want to grow. And you can actually, when you're ready to grow, it should start doing that without it taking additional time from you. But that won't happen if you don't have your processes in place.
Mm-hmm. That's so important. I think, if you don't have how could you grow if you don't have processes in place? I mean, I think everything would fall apart so quickly. It would just become.
Yeah, eventually it catches up one way or another, be it your health and you burn out, mm-hmm. or the business just hits a plateau and it starts to fizzle out. Because if you're not moving forward, then you're moving backwards.
Right. And I just imagine, if you are growing as a business, but you have no processes in place, I just imagine things falling through the cracks and you just losing control, really. It's
absolutely
kind of a disaster. Yeah. Wow.
Which then it ends the life of your business. Your business dies because you lose business because things are falling through the cracks.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so cool. Well, we're just about at our time. Is there anything else that you wanted to add about, any myths about the virtual assistant world that you wanted to share with us, or any other tips that you wanted to go over?
That's it. I'm a big one for processes, and I know it's not sexy work, but it makes a business work.
I love that. It's not sexy work, but it makes the business work. I was going to say that. And I think that's why people need people like you, because a lot of people, they ignore that part of the business. And that's a huge part of the business, having everything, a guidebook to your business. And it like you say, it's not sexy, it's not edgy, but it has to be done.
It is. Yeah, mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah. And that's why I created actually the checklist, which is the download. Mm-hmm. Because most people don't really understand how much it takes to really run a legitimate business. If you want this to really function and operate and support your life, I mean, it's got to have structure. Everything needs structure in order for it to work.
Yeah, Shannon's going to give us a free download. And what's the title of the download? It'll be in our show notes so people can grab it.
I call it the Savvy CEO Checklist. Because awesome. It's a checklist of 15 processes that every business needs to function efficiently. Whether you're a solopreneur or you're building a team, there are many of the processes that we talked about today are on that list. So it really helps you identify the gaps in your business operations so you can plug the leaks, because you can't grow if you're leaking time. Your business won't grow.
I love that. So you can plug the leaks. That's awesome. Yes. So if people wanted to follow you, where can they find you? What's your website? All that good stuff.
Okay. The website is Socially Savvy VA, and that's SociallySavvyVA.com. And online, it's Socially Savvy VA on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And you'll find me mostly on Instagram, but I'm also on Facebook as well.
Well, cool. Well, Shannon, thank you so much for being here today. I loved our conversation. And for those of you who are listening, I know you're listening, but I'm talking to Shannon over Zoom so I can see her. And she's got a little sign in the background that says, focus on one task. And I love seeing that sign because I don't believe that you can multitask. You have to focus on one to be effective.
So. Absolutely. Yes.
So thanks a lot, Shannon.
One process at a time. One task at a time. Yes.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And you guys, we've got some great stuff coming to you in the show notes. And Shannon, we will chat with you next time.
Thank you for tuning in today. If you enjoyed the interview, please subscribe, share, and leave me a review in iTunes. Don't forget to click the link in the show notes to get access to my online resource vault, which is where you can find the checklist mentioned in this episode, along with other resources to help you document your processes and get your systems in order. Now be sure to tune in next week when I share 3 mistakes you want to avoid when you hire a virtual assistant. And remember, you are enough and you do enough. And until next time, keep calm and streamline.